In this squash review, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about this software. If you have any questions, please be sure to comment them down below, and I'll also be sure to leave a discounted link down there so you can always get your money's worth for Squash. Squash is a software where you can quickly develop and test WordPress, e-commerce sites, and custom web apps. So this is what you should see once you have first entered the software, whether you are signing up or even logging in. So what this software is pretty much the fastest way to run web apps for testing. Now for any sort of e-commerce websites out there, you'd want to actually run your test on web apps or something like that. This is the software that actually provides that. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it and show the types of deployments that you can actually start running and how to run them. So once you've actually started on the website, you should land on this page. Now if you want to go back to this page constantly, just click on the Squash logo up there and it should always take you to the deployment section. In this section it shows you your active deployments. We don't have any right now, but once you do they should start coming up, and then you can also start your new deployment or even new blueprint deployment. Now on the deployment section you can see that it asks for an application and a deployment name. So to deploy a new environment, just go to this section and you can actually select your application right here from Drupal, Ghost, Joomla, WordPress, WordPress latest. We're going to go with WordPress, and then straight after that you actually have a deployment name and name it whatever you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and name this reviews for the sake of this review, and once you are done with that you can then click next. Squash will then generate a unique URL in a couple of seconds, in under even a matter of seconds, to then give you a link that you can actually press on and use. So once you click it, it should take you to this page where it's then in under again a couple of seconds it is deploying your blueprint. So you can see your last deployment, current deployment, and also restart it if you want to as well. It gives you all of the updates right here. It says start an environment, deploying branch, and the repository. So now all you have to do is wait for the software to kind of do its thing and let it run the web apps for the testing and deployment. So as easy as that, in under a couple of seconds, around 30 seconds, and even under that, you can actually have your deployment up and running with the type of website like a WordPress that you want. It's really good how it's really quick to actually run through this software, and there's not too much to it in general. So back on this page where it says add custom blueprint, it actually lets you then define it more. So if you click on add custom blueprint, it then takes you to this page where you can actually start customizing your type of blueprint. So it says please answer the questions below so we can build a recipe to install your app. We will automatically use this recipe for new deployments and then any questions. So you're going to go ahead and see what the software is about in that section, or even just start getting into it. So give them a profile name, VM size, you can change that from 1G, 2G or 4G, and then also your assets repository. Select your branch. So then it says pick a memory size that can support your app. If you're not sure, leave the default size that fits most projects. So go ahead and fill out all this information that actually applies to you, and then click save. You should then have your custom blueprints for the Squash software, and you can start getting back to your deployments and as quickly as possible, saving yourself time and effort. You can also check the history of your deployments once they've actually finished. Again, we started running one but it hasn't finished, so once it has you can see the history there. Again, there's no historical data yet, so there's nothing here right now, but once it's finished all of your history data should be running through the history section, as you can see on the left hand side. Below that we then have the checks. If we click on that you can then see the automated checks that the software would provide once again your deployment has finished running. And finally the blueprints, we were on that section a minute ago. You can actually change or add your own blueprint with the information you provide. So that's pretty much it for the deployment section of Squash. We added a deployment, you can then see the history, your checks, and change your blueprints, which we also did as well. It's really good how the software can be really intuitive if you get into it, and really fast for anyone who actually wants to go ahead and run fast web apps for testing. In the settings you can also change your VM settings, so you can change your VM size if you want to go ahead and change that, the default size, the default storage, and your loading page content URL. If you want to go ahead and do that to again save yourself a bit of time, you can do that and click save. It's really good how you can go ahead and actually change your personal preferences, a feature that I personally kind of like. Same with your deployment keys in this section, add the description and key, API keys as well, and then the integrations Slack. So now all the way back at this section where we actually started our WordPress deployment or our Squash deployment, it has now actually been finished, and you can then fill in all this information for you to actually carry on with that. So it says welcome to the famous 5-minute WordPress installation process. You just fill out the information and then it's easy as that. So fill out your WordPress information for you to carry on going through your deployment. So all the way back at this section, if we want to go ahead and change it, let's just go with a random different one. Let's click Ghost, keep the deployment name as reviews, and then click Next as well. It should then give us another link in under a second, really fast and really well integrated. You'd then click on that and it would show the same process that we actually had before. So I actually already did the Ghost one, that's already being deployed right now. As you can see, the code is being created, but that's pretty much how it should be once it started processing. So now you can see when it starts, when it's midway, and then we just saw once it's finished, it takes you through the actual information based areas. So you can click restart, which I'm going to do just for the sake of this review to show you. Then you can click restart and then click restart as well. It should then restart it in a couple of seconds. It says now, sorry, this deployment is currently being decommissioned. Please try again in a few minutes. So it's currently restarting. Obviously it got a long way before I click restart. So now it's being decommissioned. And that's pretty much every aspect of this software. How to create a deployment, how to actually run one, and then how to restart one or pretty much delete one. And there's not really much else this software has to offer. And there you go, that is it for the Squash software review. Overall, I think this is a great software for running web apps for testing and a really simplistic software for anyone who's maybe just a beginner and they actually want to run web apps for testing. A couple of features that I personally liked is again how easy it is to actually run through this software. It's really simplistic, so you don't really get too confused for a software like this, and really straightforward for anyone who's trying to run web apps for testing. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, I absolutely would. Anyone who's looking for a software like this to run the tests, this is probably one of the best out there, again, because of how simple it is, easy to learn, and pretty much that. Would I use it myself? I don't personally use softwares like this, but I suppose if I was, I would use it myself. And again, there's a couple of features that I liked, so I might use it myself based on those features if I was needing a software like this. Overall, I think it's a great software though, and some people should use it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.